Have you ever really stopped and thought about why you buy the things you do? I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, right? You like something, so you buy it. But what if I told you that a lot of your purchasing decisions are being nudged along by these invisible forces you might not even notice? No, really, just for a second. Think about that brand of coffee you just have to have in the morning, or the smartphone that's in your hand right now. Was that choice 100% you, or was there something else kind of guiding you, nudging you toward that specific product? Well, the truth is, our choices are way more complicated than just simple preference. They're actually shaped by this deep, kind of intricate web of outside factors that, together, basically create the consumer inside all of us. So let's get into it. Look, there are a ton of things that shape our buying habits: psychological stuff, personal things, even the economy. But today, we're going to zoom in on two of the biggest, most powerful external influences out there: the culture you live in and the social circles you're a part of. So here's the game plan. We'll start by looking at your broad cultural blueprint. Then we'll get more specific and talk about the people who shape you. After that, we'll pull back the curtain on the marketer's playbook. And then we'll wrap up by asking the big one: are your choices really even yours? All right, let's start with the biggest influence of them all: culture. The best way to think about it is like the operating system for a society. It's this whole collection of shared values, beliefs, and behaviors that we just soak up from a young age. And it quietly dictates so much of what we think is normal, including, you guessed it, what and how we buy things. For any company that wants to go global, this is absolutely essential. I mean, cross-cultural understanding isn't just some nice little buzzword. It is literally the difference between massive success and total failure. Because what works in one culture can be an absolute train wreck in another. And this is a perfect example of why. Check this out. The exact same thing, silence, can mean the complete opposite in different places. In one culture, it's a sign of respect, that you're really thinking things through. In another, it's awkward. It's a red flag that something's wrong. Now just imagine trying to close a huge business deal when you can't even agree on what silence means. And here is what happens when a huge company gets it wrong in the real world. Walmart, right? They tried to bring their whole always low prices thing to Germany, and it failed spectacularly. Why? Because they completely missed the cultural cues. German shoppers preferred their local merchants and were actually suspicious of prices that seemed too low. They connected it with cheap quality. It was a total cultural mismatch. Now, culture gets even more specific when you drill down into subcultures. Things like your religion might influence your diet or your clothing. The part of the country you're from can determine your food staples, like the difference between rice in the south of India and wheat in the north. And of course, your ethnicity comes with its own shared values. Each one of these layers gives a more detailed map of our consumer habits. Okay, so if culture is the big macro level influence, let's zoom in a bit to the micro level, our social world. We're talking about the groups that have a really direct, immediate impact on our day-to-day choices: our friends, our family, our social standing. Age is another huge one. I mean, different generations have completely different ways of seeing the world and shopping. Marketers know this stuff cold. They know Gen X is in its peak earning years. They know Gen Y or millennials grew up multitasking on screens. And they know Gen Z are digital natives who've never known a world without the internet. You have to approach each group in a totally different way. Social class creates really distinct patterns too. For the upper middle class, where career is often a huge focus, the purchases tend to reflect that status. We're talking high-end homes, cars, furniture. On the other hand, lower classes are more often the target for mass market products, where the focus is more on value and accessibility, not luxury. And then, of course, there's family. A single person's budget looks totally different from a newly married couple's, which is, again, completely different from a family with teenagers heading off to college. Your needs and where your money goes just evolved so dramatically, from things like diapers and daycare to tuition and tech gadgets. Okay, get this. It's pretty fascinating. To really truly understand what consumers at different stages of life need, companies like Ford go to some pretty incredible lengths. They actually have their young designers put on these age suits that mimic what it's like to have limited mobility or vision. It's all about building empathy, so they can design cars that actually work for older drivers. So, we've seen these powerful cultural and social forces that are constantly shaping us. The next logical question has to be: how do companies take all this information and turn it into a strategy that actually gets you to, buy their stuff? This slide really lays out the whole playbook. Let's walk through it. It all starts over on the left, where they connect a product to a specific social status. Think a luxury car. Then, in the middle, they gather all sorts of data on that target group. What's your lifestyle? What TV shows do you watch? Where do you shop? Based on all that data, they create a specific image for the product, like, this car is for successful people. And finally, on the right, they build the entire marketing mix. The product itself, the ads, where they sell it, all of it is tailored to reinforce that image and reach you directly. It's a very deliberate system. And here's why all of this is so critical. The stakes are incredibly high. For every new product that actually makes it, a whole lot more fail. In fact, some estimates put the new product failure rate as high as 90%. And a huge reason why is that they just fail to understand the cultural and social things that drive their target audience. Which brings us right back to where we started. After seeing just how deeply our environment, our culture, and our social circles shape our tastes and what we like, we kind of have to ask ourselves about our own free will when we're shopping. So the big takeaway here is this: we never make these decisions in a vacuum. Every single choice, from what you're having for lunch to what car you buy, is filtered through the lens of your culture, your social class, your generation, and your family situation. These outside forces are creating the entire context for every time you click Add to Cart. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. The next time you're about to buy something, just pause for a second and ask yourself, is this really me choosing this? Or is it my culture, my social group? Or maybe, is it the brilliant marketer who understands both of those things even better than I do? Who's really in charge of this decision?